everyone, Nancy Turgeon here.
And I'm DanGervais, and today we're going to have a quick conversation about big ticket items when you're buying a house, what to look for, what you should be concerned with, maybe what you shouldn't be, and how to make sure that you have all the information you need to proceed confidently.
I want them to be in a home that they're going to be able to maintain and just maintain instead of having to do the big ticket items. So the things we're going to talk about today are some of the items that I look for when when I'm showing a home, so that they can defer that cost. The first thing I'd like to talk about is a roof, and what should we be looking at to know if a roof is a good standing and we can get some life out of it.
Yeah. Really what you're looking for is can we find out the age of the roof? Was it permitted? Are there records of when it was done, so we can know the age? Short of that, if we can't find the exact date that it was installed, you can generally start to see telltale signs. If you start to see a lot of buckling, corners of shingles tend to lift up.
Okay.
If it's the 3-tab roof, the one with all the slots, as they wear, generally the slots in between the slots wear first. So you'd see maybe curling on the edges of the shingles, and then the slots kind of widen out. Many times you get very dark because the granules are washed off. So there's a lot of cracking. Sometimes you can even spot that. Missing shingles is a problem. So there's a lot of different little telltale signs we look for, and an inspector would almost always pick that up.
Excellent. How about heating systems? I know there's quite a few out there, and I just wanted to explain, there's probably not one better than the other, natural gas versus oil. Is there a difference between them of how they burn, or the cost of replacing them, if need be, if they're older?
Yeah. The two main types of systems are forced hot water and forced hot air.
Okay.
Now, forced hot water is when in the basement you have what they call a boiler. Sometimes they look the same, and we always call them the furnace. Well, a boiler boils water and sends it through the heat pipes and through coils to warm up the rooms, and it's generally a continuous circulation. It goes through a zone and then down, and you might be able to isolate different parts of the house with zone valves, and that's a hot water system.
Okay.
Hot air system is what now is run by a furnace. So there's a heater that gets in there and heats up the furnace itself and then blows hot air throughout the house. That's usually when you see floor registers and vents.
Okay. Or the ceiling vent as well? Would it be
They generally have inlets and returns.
Okay.
So the air goes out one way, gets heated up, comes back in another way.
Okay.
And that's a preference. Some people like one better than the other, and the different types of fuels are, it's usually fueled by gas, oil, or propane. So that's really, I don't know, sometimes people are worried about the cost of the oil, but I've had oil that didn't really bother me. The cost didn't seem too much different or worse. So,
right. So would the forced hot water always be a radiator that's on the floor?
Generally,
on the baseboard? Okay.
Almost always, but there are some other styles, like they have these European design ones that sit on the wall and the hot water goes through them.
Sure. Really, especially in an older home. I've seen those.
Yeah, if they retrofit.
Yeah,
if there's a retrofit in an older home, a good heating contractor will figure out how to get the proper amount of heat in that room and the best, most efficient way to do that.
Okay.
So sometimes it is using something that we don't see every day. Split units, for instance, it's part air conditioner, part heater, and they put them on the wall. There's a condenser outside, and that runs, and you can bring the heat up in a room very quickly, or the air conditioning, but that's where they didn't really have access sometimes to tap into the rest of the system.
I'm seeing them more and more in homes. Yeah, they're a great solution.
Yeah.
And not as costly too, it sounds like, for some of the other systems. I know on water heaters, there's, you go in and you see the big tank, the 40-gallon tank. Could you explain to me the other system that it's a smaller tank? And is it on demand? Is that what that is called for a water heater?
Yes, yeah. An on-demand system basically is when, the water's coming, pushed into the system, and when you hit that water, and turn it on, let it know you're asking for flow, it automatically uses a lot of heat very quickly to heat up that water.
Okay.
The benefit of those is that they generally, you can take like We have one in our place up north, and we've got the old soaking tubs, and people can soak in that tub one after the next and just relax and
Nice.
and always get hot water. But so they don't. The beauty of them is that they don't have to maintain, let's say, 55 gallons or 52 gallons of water at a certain temperature all the
Right,
time. So
okay.
they are a saver of energy, no
Oh,
question.
nice. Very nice. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is looking at a basement. I know the joys of Cape Cod, that sometimes the basement feels a little more moist, or there's an odor when you go in there. And I know that I've had clients that just use like a damp rid, and it took care of most of the things like that. Is there anything else to look for, like cracks in the wall, anything for safety and soundness for a foundation?
Yeah, it's a great question. In the basement, there are things sometimes people get a little freaked out about. It's Cape Cod. Plan on using a dehumidifier. We usually have
Yes.
turned ours on late April, May. We can shut it back off late November. And that's really just to keep the moisture down so that you don't get that musty smell. And so dehumidifier is always recommended here on Cape Cod. And then a lot of other things you see, cracks are pretty normal, especially if it's a long basement. If they don't put expansion joints in that floor, there are generally going to be cracks. More often than not, they really don't mean anything, and
Okay.
most inspectors will tell you that.
Oh, that's good.
Cracks in the wall happen. Really just a natural part of the process of pouring concrete. Sometimes, when it's setting up, it just cracks. Again, if it hasn't really opened way up, or there's not a shift, like if you run your hand across and one part of that crack is a half an inch out beyond the other, that's a problem. That's
Okay.
a structural issue.
Okay.
But again, most inspectors will look at that and they'll tell you the same. No, that's not something you should really worry about. You could seal it. There are companies that do that. But if there's no signs of water there now, that's not generally an issue. If you're going to finish the basement, some people do hydraulic cement. Some people have this injection system done, which is fantastic. Dry lock.
Okay.
They paint it with a coating. So there's a lot of ways to deal with that. But again, an inspection or a professional contractor will tell you whether it's something you should be concerned about or not. So, it's like on Cape Cod too. And, it's like, there might be carpenter ants or signs of, termite or bug damage of some sort. It's just, again, part of life down here. Most homes we recommend get on a treatment plan. And the inspector knows what to look for. If there's active damage, that would be a concern. Then now you got to start digging to find out how far it's gone. But for the most part, these are just parts of life and home ownership, and especially here on Cape Cod. And when you spot these things, it's just good to get the professionals in who know what it'll take to rectify it, and because these things aren't something that should necessarily prevent you from moving forward with the sale.
I wanted to mention too that a lot of times home inspections, the clients or the buyer, they think this is the time to get a doorknob replaced or an electrical outlet replaced or something like that. What I try to inform my buyers is this is really to make sure that the home is safe for you to move in and that the foundation is sound. And that's really important to get that mindset before. Obviously, if there's things like that are big, you negotiate with the seller. But I don't want people to, what it really does for them is it helps them to know their house and how to maintain their house. Because the home inspection also tells you how to, in 3 years you need to do this, in 2 years you need to do that. So it's very, very informative. But I want it to be used for the right purpose so that people understand it's really a helpful thing to have as a home inspection.
Yeah, if you go to the house and you see peeling paint, on, let's say the front of the house is peeling, and then you make an offer, and then you have your home inspection, of course they're going to know peeling paint. Generally that's not, you consider the peeling paint in your offer. So it's really not a time to get maintenance done during the inspection. The inspection is for things you had concerns about up front but don't know the real answer to, or things that you didn't see. So if you do an inspection and you realize partway through it that none of the safety outlets are working, GFI outlets, they have a shelf life. If one's not working, that's a safety issue. Near the sink, we ask for that to be repaired. If you find out the there's been a recall on the electrical meter. Well, you didn't know that when you made the offer. That's something you'd expect to either be compensated for or have it repaired or work something out at that point. But it's really not a time to now say, okay, let's get the home remodeled. If the people brought the home right up to, move-in ready, say, if they really improved everything, more often than not, they would just raise the asking price as well. So you make your offer based on what you know, and then the inspections generally for the things you didn't know or couldn't see or couldn't foresee.
And this is something also that your buyer's agent will help you with. They help you negotiate all of that and make sure that what you're purchasing is what you think it is, and so that you're informed about everything about the home. I think that's it for today, Dan. Do you have anything to add?
Pretty much, yeah. And, rely on your agent. All agents that I know, we get a lot of great agents here on Cape Cod, a lot of fantastic buyer agents, and they, if they've been in the business a while, or even if they're just even new, they must have a list from their office of vendors that they deal with. So if you have a concern about the heating system, they could bring maybe their preferred contractor in to give it a once over and to tell you, hey, this is not that bad, or it does need replacement. So it's important to rely on them and utilize their list of professionals. If you're not licensed, you shouldn't be giving advice on heating systems. I'm not licensed to do them. I can tell some of the telltale signs, but then I want to bring in a professional, and take it from there, kind of thing. But yeah, if you, I guess the thing is this: the important thing is know what you're getting into when you move into the home. If you have a tolerance for more repairs, you might not push as hard on certain things, but you just don't want any surprises,
Right.
And they happen anyways sometimes. But what the inspection's trying to do is alleviate that, where 2 days down the road or 2 weeks you get this surprise that's $5,000.
Correct.
And you can't eliminate those, but they do their best.
Very good.
Yeah. Is that it for today?
That's it for today.
Yeah. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out. We're happy to help you in any way we can. And that's it for this week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Nancy Turgeon here.
And I'm DanGervais. And
We wanted to talk today.
let's do that again.
Okay.
And then, so,
Yeah.
you want to do that, and we want to talk to you? You want me to just flow right into it?
Whatever you want to. Yeah. Just decide who's going to do it. You are. Okay.